What's up, guys? Today we're building out this 7.5 gallon Mr. Aqua little cube tank. This thing's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna be using a few different things that we now have available, which we haven't had yet, and that is going to be our UNS Spiderwood on slate. That's gonna work perfectly for this setup. Also have new plants, both in tissue cultures and potted. We're gonna be using those in here. I have my 1-star piece of this scape, and that's going to be this UNS large size Spiderwood on slate. I think it's gonna fit perfectly in here. It's gonna look awesome. We'll get to that in a little bit. I've got some of this crema pagoda rock here. This is something that I actually haven't used here in the studio, but I've been always looking forward to finding a place for it. I don't know, I'm gonna be honest with you right now, I don't know if I'm gonna end up using this because I do think that this spiderwood with the plants might be enough, like for a really simple, cool scape. But if I can get a couple of these smaller pieces of pagoda rock in there, I'm probably gonna do it. With that, let's start with the substrate. Substrate in. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to grab this on slate. Love the fact that this is on slate. Obviously it's not going to float up. I don't have to pre-soak it. I don't have to try to tie it down to anything. So that's a super cool feature of this from UNS. And this, to me, I think definitely has a front, right? Like, let's consider this to be the back. I probably wouldn't have it facing this way. I do think that there are some various side options here that could be cool. I'm probably going to end up going with something about like this. This actually has a little bit of a triangular shape. So I'm not gonna put it dead center. I'm gonna have it work with the triangular shape of this cube, meaning this angle right here. I'm gonna have it back a little bit tucked into that, but I do want to keep maintenance in mind. So I can cover up the slate. I've got this cut part right here that I know is facing forward. I'm probably going to just deal with that either with some rock or a plant. We'll see how it goes. Crema pagoda rock, love this stuff. I've crushed some of it up. It's just got this beautiful red coloration, sort of desert vibe. I'm just gonna get some in here and I'm gonna see what comes of it. I'm expecting that little crumbs I should say, of this are going to be generally the look. So that's what I'm gonna start with first. I have a couple that are a little bit bigger. I'm not sure yet whether or not they're gonna have a home here. Let's see. This is the part about aquascaping that I think is fun. Okay, I'm gonna start with the hair grass. So to do that, I'm just gonna wet some of these areas of the soil here. And by doing that, I'm only gonna right now just wet the areas where I wanna see the hair grass. Just get it pretty damp. It's just gonna help with adhesion from the roots. So the tissue cultures here, you guys, are looking so good. Where are my other ones? All right, I've got the Reineke rosifolia here. I've got a couple of our potted plants here from UNS as well. And I've got this dwarf hair grass. I can tell you right now, the roots are nice and white. It's really full, it's bright green, it's healthy, it's not crushed, the gel isn't all over the place. All the types of things that you can find with tissue cultures from time to time, these are looking spectacular. I'm already liking how this hair grass is going to look next to this pagoda stone. I think that's going to be really cool. All right, I'm good with that. So what I'm envisioning here is that that's gonna be my foreground. And then what I'm gonna want to do with this Reineke rosifolia is use this as gonna be a stem plant that, especially with the right light and CO2, is actually gonna grow pretty fast and pretty high. So I'm gonna have this be in a little bit of a background, but I do like to have this coloration mixing in with the rocks. So I think we're gonna go with that back here. And then I'm gonna go with a couple of these. We've got a little Java fern, we've got and a couple crypts, and I'm gonna have those be my mid-ground plants. Now my tissue cultures are in, and now I'm gonna go with a little bit of our mid-ground plants, and I'm gonna focus on two specific things. Number one, this cut area that's over here, and secondly, this cut area that's right here in the front. And I wanna get a crypt or something like that in front of both of those. So let's open up these guys from UNS. So that's a crypt Wendy Brown. Here's our Java Fern Window Love. And then our crypt Parva, this little guy right here. This might be my jam for this area right here in front of that cut piece. This guy, I'm thinking can be right here, and he's gonna grow up in this area right over there. And then this, I think can be my mid-ground plant right here. Might move this rosifolia back slightly, but let's find out. All right, guys, you can't do that. You can't put Java ferns in soil because they will rot and die. Made the mistake, my bad. Just wanted to cut in here and let you know that that's not where this whole thing ended up. Those Java ferns are now up out of the soil and planted along the wood where they belong. Back to the video. All right, so I've got my stems growing in the background. I've got some foreground crypts that are gonna be a little bit taller, but probably not as tall as those stems get. And then I've got my foreground here with the hair grass, which is fairly densely planted, not too bad, because you can get a lot of mileage again out of just that one cup. We've got CO2 to set up. We've got lily pipes to set up. We've got filtration to set up. We got the lighting to set up. Let's start with that. All right, you guys, the light that I'm gonna use is the Fluval Nano Plant LED. This is a light that I think will just work great for the size of this tank and what we're trying to do with it. So I'll drop that back there, and then obviously we'll be seeing what's the best place for this light based upon our wood setup. I could get this on the back. I could move the spider wood enough to do that, but I'm not really that worried about it, you guys. Honestly, I think it looks good. The scape looks good. And that's what matters. So with it lit up, let's get some water in there. All right, so this may be a little unconventional, but I've actually found it pretty useful to just bunch up a couple latex gloves somewhere where you're gonna fill this up. Obviously, just thinking about being delicate, we don't want a bunch of these plants to float. We don't want to blow out a lot of the substrate. So I'm just gonna put these in a little pocket right there. Now they will obviously start to float up after a little bit, or actually the siphon I put on there might hold them down. But that's what I'm gonna hit the water with to try to get a nice even flow across the tank and see how it works. All right, overall I'm pretty happy with how that went. What am I seeing here? Well, the latex gloves, as they floated up with the siphon, they ended up staying in front of it the whole time, which was the design if they hadn't stayed down. And that continued to have the water flow just hitting this and then just dispersing like nice and slowly. Now it's time to do filtration, and I'm gonna use this CJ100. It's gonna come with a fine filter floss and your biomedia. So I'm gonna put those there, and actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit, a little extra. So I'm gonna take this bag of Purigen from Seachem. And then the other thing I'm gonna add is the ChemiPure Green. And the ChemiPure Green, this is the Nano, so it comes with 5 different packets in it. And I'll just take a couple of these and I'll throw it in here with the Purigen, and that's just gonna help get crystal clear water. And I'll get these on in the in and the out. All right, cool, let's get some filtration going on this now that we have our canister filter set up. Let's get our lily pipes on. We'll do that real quick with these Aqua Rio lily pipes. I'm using the medium ones just for a smaller tank. They're super easy to install. You wanna make sure when you're clamping it, you're not clamping any part of the curve. That CJ filter started up right away, no problem. Got a couple things floating around on the surface here. Got good surface agitation going on. I can put a flow reducer on there if I need to, we'll see. But I can definitely see the flow moving through the whole aquarium, which is great. Not too much flow on a plant or anything like that. And I can already see it blowing some of the things off the wood that are gonna be sucked up by that Purigen for sure. All right, you guys, now it is time to set up our CO2 canister here from UNS. And I've got the UNS mini dual stage regulator here, which is super cool. And we're just gonna get that set up real quick. And if you want a cool hack I learned from MJ Aquascaping, is you can put glycerine in here if you don't want to have the evaporation of the water be quite as quickly. That fluid will stay in there much longer, and you won't have to replace the water as often. So there you go. All right, got this airline tubing here from CO2 Art. I like this stuff mostly because it's really flexible. I also like that it's clear. It is specially designed CO2 tubing, which you want to make sure you're using so that you don't have any gas escaping. And we're just gonna loosen this up, put the ring over the tube, get that tube on there nice and tight. Okay, now we wanna make sure that we have a check valve in here. That's just gonna keep the CO2, or the water I should say, from going back into the CO2 canister. And we have a lot of different check valves that you can check out. See what I did there? But this one is from ISTA. And these always have a up and down, so make sure that you are paying attention to, in this case, an arrow. It's telling you that this is gonna go that way. And typically where I'll place those is probably about 6 inches down off the backside. Now you're obviously gonna wanna have a timer on your CO2. I've got the lighting here. I've got this on a timer right now, and it's set to go on at 9 and turn off at 4. So I'm going to set the CO2 to go on at 8 and turn off at 5. I've got all the CO2 in the studio set like that. It comes on an hour before the light, turns off an hour after. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna attach this special Extend Edition medium-sized diffuser from Aquario. I love these because you can just get it nice and deep in the tank, and I think they look really cool because if you go with the shorter ones and you're running a lot of tubing in the tank, and with these you don't really have to do that. Just setting the pressure right here, and then I'll set the bubble counter, dial that way back. I'm looking for about a bubble a second right now. And I've got a nice stream of CO2 coming out the back there.
All right, here we are guys at the end. Thanks for sticking around. Just want to show you what we've got going on here. You can see now that those Java ferns are planted out of the soil and up on the wood where they belong. I think it was really cool how we added some Anubias and the Java ferns and even a little bit of fig up here on the top just to have this whole green shoot come out of the tank. And we've got some little Sparkling Gouramis in there. They're tough to see. We've also got a little Amano shrimp doing his job. And this Dwarf Hair grass here in the front is really starting to connect. It's been about 2 weeks since the build, so you guys can see how some of that's coming together. Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you on the next one.
Oh, what's up guys? Thanks for making it to the end of the video, but don't go anywhere. There's more right here.